Hello class, today we are going to be learning how to calculate APR. So APR stands for your annual percentage rate, and this is the cost of credit expressed as a yearly percentage. So what that means is this is how much it would cost to borrow a set amount of money over the course of one whole year. Um, this is standardized for how to calculate it by the Truth in Lending Law, and your lenders have to disclose this. But a lot of companies will try to kind of bury that in the fine print, especially if you're going to predatory lenders like you learned about on Friday. And so what this looks like is you are going to be doing a 3-step process. Your first step right here is you are going to figure out how much money the person in the problem spent to buy the item. So you're looking for anything they paid. You're going to take the how much money they put down when they purchased the item, plus the payments that they're making, multiplied by the number of months that they are making those payments. That tells you how much they ended up paying for that item. Once you know that, you're going to take your answer and you're going to minus the cost that they would have paid for the item, like the value of that item. We call that the cash price. That's the amount I would have paid if I would have saved up for it first and just bought it using my debit card or cash. When you minus those two, that gives you the finance charge, and we call this F in the next step. Okay? Your finance charge is another way of thinking about your interest. So your third step is to calculate the APR. The formula for APR is 2 times N times F, the finance charge, all over P times capital N plus 1. So we're familiar with little n. Little n is how often it's compounding in our previous problems. In this problem, it's going to be the number of payments you're making in 1 year. So just like compounding, if it says you're making monthly payments, n is going to be equal to 12. The F is the finance charge from step 2. P is how much you borrowed, and capital N is the number of months it takes to pay off. So this is going to be the total months. So for example, the writers bought a new couch set. The cash price was $1,600. So that means if I saved up for it and I bought it with my debit card, it was going to be $1,600. They financed it, so they put $100 down and borrowed $1,500, which they are making in payments of $45 for 41 months. All right. So our first step is to take everything they paid. So they paid $100 down, and they are making payments of $45 for 41 months. You put that into your calculator, that's going to be $1,945 that they paid to buy this couch. The next thing we want to do is we want to find out how much money they paid in interest or finance charges for the privilege of paying for this couch over time. So we're going to take our answer and we're going to minus the cash price of this couch. Which tells me they spent $345 in interest to pay for this couch over almost 4 years. The next thing I'm going to do is calculate the actual percentage of interest that they were paying each month. So we're going to take our finance charge is going to go at the end of the fraction on the top. Okay, from there, this formula always starts with 2 times, and he's making monthly payments, so n is going to be 12 multiplied by the 345. On the bottom, we want to put how much money he borrowed. This is where I see a lot of mistakes. Okay, he borrowed $1,500 is right here in the problem. We do not want to put the cash price here. So I'm putting $1,500 on the bottom multiplied by the number of payments that he made. So that was the 41 from the beginning. Sorry about that. Okay. We always add 1 to that number. That's just part of the formula. The last thing that you need here is to multiply by 100 so that you get a percentage and not a decimal. So you'll type that all in your calculator, and these calculators like to give you the exact answer. So it's going to give you a fraction. So after you get your fraction, you're going to click the button that has the double arrows like this, and that will change it to a decimal of 13.14%. All right, so here I want you to pause the video, and I want you to flip over to the next page and try the next problem on your own, and then come back and check your work. All right, so we're checking our work for Mark here, who bought a new phone that cost $1,200. He paid $50 down, and he's making payments of $55 over the next 24 months. So we're going to use those three numbers to calculate how much total he paid. So that looks like $50 plus 55 times 24. So he ended up paying $13.70 for his phone. So now I'm going to take and find the finance charge. So I'm taking this answer and I'm subtracting the cost of the phone itself. So that tells me he paid $170 in interest. So we know how much he spent in dollars. We want to switch that to a percentage rate. So we're going to bring the 170 down to the bottom. Okay. On the bottom, we always are going to start with a 2. He's making monthly payments, so times 12. And then we want to put how much he borrowed on the bottom. And we multiply that by the total number of months that he's paying for this phone, plus 1. And then we have to multiply this whole fraction by 100. It's going to give you a fraction, so then you press your button or press your buttons and switch it to a decimal. And I got 14.19%. All right, so that should be all you need to know to do today's assignment. If you have any questions, we will go over that the next day in class.